Hey guys, Will here. So I wanted to take a little bit of time today to talk about spinal alignment and core strength. And when we hear core strength, I think maybe many of us think of sit-ups, planks, things like that. But how many of us think about core strength being an integral part of a lot of strength movements? Because the purpose of your core is protecting your spine, making sure that it doesn't deviate from position when you put it under heavy loads. If you find that your back begins to hurt when you perform squats or deadlifts or just bend over to pick something up, for instance, the movement I'm about to show you could be really useful to start implementing. And I'm going to show a number of ways that we can look to better understand how to use our core muscles and how to implement that in the rest of our training. So I'm going to start you off with a couple of props here. Not perfect, but they're what I have to hand. Whenever I'm coaching this with clients in person, I always try and get them to visualize a pair of bowls as a representation of their pelvis and their rib cage. And these have got holes in the bottom, so they're not perfect, but imagine these cones of bowls for me. And we're going to look at the alignment of the spine when we fall into either overextension, that being arching our back, and overflexion, that meaning curling up and tucking into a ball. So this is your pelvis, this is your rib cage, your spine's in between them. If I put myself sideways on and I'm standing nicely in alignment, they're perfectly stacked. Nothing's going anywhere. The forces just go straight down from ribs to hips to legs to feet. Everything's in alignment. If I start to arch my back like this, you notice I tip out the back of that top bowl. I tip out the front of that bottom bowl. This in the front of here is a representation of my abs. Those have opened way up. They've stretched. They're not really engaging now. And my back muscles, they've gotten really short. They're pulling tight. That's why I can feel I'm squeezing at my back muscles. I return to neutral. If I then go the other way, I tuck my tail, I dip my ribs, my abs are getting short, they're squeezing in place, and I'm stretching through my back muscles. Now, where this can go awry through our lifting is if we over-adopt either of these positions when we want to maintain neutral. Now, the movement we want to practice, the dead bug, is a great way of teaching us how to integrate all of those spinal muscles to maintain that alignment when we're not just vertical, but we're horizontal, lying on our backs. That can then transfer really nicely to any kind of loaded movement like a squat or a deadlift where we hinge, lean our body forwards, or load a weight down at the top of our spine and then through our hips so that our back is not the weak link in that equation. So you've probably seen these before. What they look like is this. I'm going to lie flat on my back with my arms down by my sides, knees bent and relaxed. Now, where I want to begin is just placing my weight through my heels as opposed to flat feet. That already primes me to think about engaging my core somewhat because I'm slightly lifting the weight of my legs. Now, the aim of the movement is to bring both legs up away from the ground like so and maintain this 90-degree position while keeping that same alignment of my hips and my spine. If, however, what I notice is immediately I either overarch and can't keep my back down, or I actively press my back into the floor, tuck my knees in and kind of curl into a ball, then I know I've got a little bit of work to do to find the necessary degree of tension across my whole midsection so that I can support the weight of my legs and begin moving them without sacrificing that spinal stability. Now, if you still struggle to engage those abdominal muscles, you're still finding that you're squeezing through your back and just cannot prevent yourself from lifting that rib cage, I'd recommend a modification you can make is introduce a band. It doesn't have to be a super strong one, but just something that you can loop around an anchor point or borrow a friend who's willing to stand there and help you hold it for you. And we're then going to put that in your arms to help you create some external stimulus to keep those ribs down I found that this always helps out my clients in tapping into their core muscles that they couldn't really find before, just when they're working on controlling the legs. So let's have a look at how that's going to look. Okay, so I have my band anchored up behind me. I've shimmied along until I've got some amount of tension with straight arms. Before I lift my legs, I'm going to pull my pinkies towards my knees. Again, keeping those arms straight, but I can have a little soft bend at the elbow. The idea is I want to tap into my lats, so sitting here underneath my armpits, and those ab muscles. If I can't use my core, I'm going to get yanked up like this, and I'm going to arch away from the ground. So keeping things tucked without pressing my low back into the ground can really help me find that engagement through my midsection. Then all I have to do is what I did before. Find the necessary tension to lift a leg, up and down. Repeat with the other one, up and down, and build through my progressions. One at a time from the top, and then work on full extensions, like so. Now, I will sometimes return to this for myself because it's just great as a reminder to keep that upper portion of the midsection engaged. But I find that it is a really, really great one to add in if you're a beginner and you just can't really find what that tension is supposed to feel like yet. I think that's a really key thing early stages, is simply coordination. A lot of people can struggle just to feel what they ought to be feeling, and sometimes just the visual cue or being told what you should feel doesn't quite do it. And it's not until you actually try something like this that the penny drops. Yeah, that's the thing I'm supposed to be feeling. You get familiar with that sensation, and you can start trying to find that when you put a bar on your back or in your hands, getting that core nice and tight so that you can then focus on the motion that's happening through your legs, through your hips. So I hope that one was particularly helpful. If you've got any questions around it, any other modifications, any issues you've been having with this movement before, or generally issues around lacking core strength, back pain, issues you have with your strength movements, fire off in the comments, let me know. I'll be happy to get back to you and help out. Okay, see you in the next one.